Good day, my name is Sky, and I appreciate you spending some study time with me. I'm here to help you make money in online poker by teaching you key strategies and getting you to take action. So did you take me up on last week's Steal challenge? I did it for 3 full days, 1 hour, 4 tables at a time, 10 NL. I'm going to go over my results in this podcast episode, as well as give you some tips for better steals, both pre-flop and post-flop. If you missed last week's Steal challenge episode, go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod446. The page is broken up into 2 parts, right? The top half of the page is all the steal details, as well as 5 tips for better steals, 2 pre-flop, 2 post-flop, and 1 combo stealing tip, or strategy, I guess is probably a better way to say that. The bottom half of that page has my results, so you'll see a screenshot of my results over those 3 sessions, 940 hands played in total. So, like I said, go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod446. So without further ado, let's do this. Gambate!
Well, where you at now, boy?
I feel really bad about this, but I'm not going to tell you that.
We do not do that to each other. We're Ravagers. We got a code.
Yeah, and that code is steal from everybody.
All right, so first off, this Steal challenge was a ton of fun. I have never played, I've done one-time little challenges, try to steal more pre-flop or steal more post-flop, but this was the first time I did it 4 tables at a time. My usual number of tables that I play, right? I was on Ignition the whole time. Absolutely loved it. Now, like I said, go to the show notes page. You can see a screenshot of these results. But on day 1, July 13th, I won $10.85, so a little bit over 1 buy-in because it was at 10 NL, $10 games, right? My win rate was positive 36 big blinds per 100 hands. Day 2 on Friday was positive $8.08 with a win rate of positive 24 big blinds per 100 hands. And then, kind of a bummer, session 3, 304 hands, negative $5.73 and negative 19 big blinds per 100 hands. So over those 3 days, I won $13.20 total with a win rate of positive 14 over 940 hands and 3 hours of play. Like I said, I really enjoyed this challenge, and I hope you took me up on it. If you didn't take me up, I hope you do it right now. It's really going to be helpful, and you're going to enjoy just trying to find as many stealing opportunities pre-flop and post-flop, looking for the right opponents to tackle, looking for the right flops and the right turn cards. You are going to love building your stealing skills. Now, session 3, like I said, down $5.73, and that was a bummer. It was marred by a hand. I had pocket jacks. I flopped a set. He turned a straight on me, but I got it all in with my set versus his straight because I knew that he could be calling me versus my shove with a ton of weaker hands, 2 pairs, a weaker set, pair plus draws, the flush draw. There's a possible pair plus flush draw and a straight draw all at the same time because it was like an all Broadway board, right? So I knew he could easily call me with worse, so I got it in. I hit my full house on the river, but that full house gave him a straight flush. So yeah, I lost my full $10, 100 big blind stack right there. Kind of a bummer, but it happens. But altogether, really enjoyed this challenge. So some interesting things. As I was playing these steal sessions, and all of my students are going to get the full game tape videos. I recorded all of these. I'm going to post them in the Poker Force so they can see all of the steals that I made. But here's an interesting thing. I was using a tick sheet as I was making my plays and playing the session. I was recording all of my steals. On session 1, I recorded 24 steals, but when I went back into Poker Tracker 4, looked at all of my winning hands, I actually had 30 steals total. There were 6 steals that I missed. And you could probably imagine why I missed recording these steals. I'm playing 4 tables at a time, right? And I'm sure this happens to you if you play 4 or more tables. You're involved in 3 hands at one time, maybe. For example, on table 1, you just open raised in the cutoff with Jack 8 suited. On table 2, you have pocket aces and you flopped a set of aces, right? On table 3, you're about to 3-bet bluff with ace 5 suited. So you got 3 hands going on with lots of stuff. You open raise on table 1 with that Jack 8 suited, but now your focus is on the 3-betting hand with Ace 5 suited and flopping a set because you want max value. You completely forget about that Jack 8 suited. Everybody folds, but you're so busy thinking about these other 2 tables that you don't even remember that you made that steal, and you don't remember that that steal was successful, right? So it's a good idea. A small tip for you: keep track of your steals as you play, but then go into Poker Tracker 4, filter for every one hand or hand that you won, and just go through by position and count up how many hands were actual steals versus flopping a set and getting value, that kind of a thing. So like I said, I counted 24, actually 30 on day 1. Now, when or session 1, the session 1, I hit 24. My goal for session 2 was 25 steals. I actually counted 27. But in Poker Tracker 4, I found that I had 42 steals. I missed 15 different steals right there. Once again, probably because I was busy thinking about other tables, right? Session 3, I recorded 18 steals, so I didn't hit my goal of 28, 10 shy right there. But going through Poker Tracker 4, I actually had 24 steals, so not as bad as I had thought. I missed my target by only 4 steals right there. But I really enjoyed it. The interesting thing, when you filter for one hand in Poker Tracker 4, I had 172 winning hands out of that 940. So tons were steals, and actually 10% of my wins were with steals. 10% of the hands dealt, 940, I actually won 96 of hands. So it was about 10% of the hands dealt, I won it as a steal. And I really like that percentage. I recommend that you work out the math and figure out when you do this challenge for yourself, how many hands dealt were winning steals, right? But altogether, really fun time, and I highly recommend that you do it. I'm going to tell all of my Poker Forge members to do this for themselves, 3 sessions. Now, some interesting things that I found on the button, that's where I made the most steals out of the 3 days. 26 successful steals, but 17 were pre-flop, either open raising, ISO raising, or 3-betting, which makes sense, right? Because you're in the best position, players are going to fold naturally to you because they don't want to give you position. So most were pre-flop steals, 17 out of the 26. In the big blind, I had 22 steals. That was my number 2 steal position, but 10 of those were post-flop. And I think because they were post-flop steals, obviously, if you steal a pot post-flop, there's a really good chance you're going to be making more money for each post-flop steal versus a pre-flop steal. Unless you're pre-flop stealing with a 4-bet over a 9 big blind 3-bet, that kind of a thing. But yeah, it was great. So the big blind steals, that was the number 1 spot where I made the most money with my steals. And like I said, 10 out of the 22 were post-flop steals. So lots of post-flop action right there. Now, session 3, I found the least number of steals, right? With only, like I said, I counted 18, but I had 24, which was the least of all the sessions. It also had my lowest VPIP in PFR. I was a 21/19 player over those hands. My 3-bet was also the lowest at 5.4%. And my attempt to steal was at 44%, which wasn't bad. But my raising limpers was only 28% right there. Yeah, so I remember looking back at that session that I had a lot of loose aggressive players against me. When you're up against a ton of loose aggressive players, they take your steal attempts from you. So if you really want to succeed and get as many steals as possible, you're better off really table selecting and trying to find tables with a ton of tight players, or also fish who could easily give up if they don't hit anything, right? So table select for better stealing opportunities and better stealing sessions as well. Now, I realized that stealing preflop is great, right? I made tons of open raises, tons of ISO raises, tons of 3-bet steals as well. But post-flop steals, that's where you earn more money. So I'm really thinking it's possible sometime in the future. I might issue all of you listening right now, I might issue you a post-flop steal focus challenge where your goal is to potentially find great players to enter the pot against who you have a good opportunity to steal from them post-flop, either flop, turns, or rivers. So look for that potentially look for that challenge in the future. Now, for all of you who haven't done this or who just want to improve your steals, I have some tips for you, right? when you're doing these steal kind of related sessions and you just want to work on winning as many pots without holding a good hand as possible, focus on all steals, pre-flop and post-flop. I know I said earlier that post-flop steals make more money, but I mean, if your goal is just to steal, try to do it pre-flop and post-flop. Don't just look for post-flop steals until, sometime in the future when I give you that post-flop stealing challenge, right? But it's really critical. These stealing hands or these opportunities to steal that end up becoming successful, they're such a boost to your win rate because let me tell you something. I counted all the steals where I won, all my successful steals. My total winnings over these 3 days were $29.45. Those were 3 buy-ins at 10 NL, just in steals and profitability over these steal success hands. My win rate with all these steal success hands was positive 307 big blinds per 100 hands total. Positive 307 is an awesome win rate. This stealing really helped boost my overall win rate for the week, for the month, for the year of this year. So really, when you're stealing, pre-flop and post-flop are both critical to your overall win rate success and improving your results. Now, before any pre-flop steal, post-flop as well, but before any pre-flop steal, you really want to know that they can find a fold. So when you're stealing in a late position, you want to know that the blinds can fold. You want to know the button player is not going to 3-bet you. Like when you're stealing, just imagine Jack 8 suited in the MP. You want cutoff button, small blind, and big blind to fold. That's the only way your steal is going to work. Now, your hand might be playable post-flop, which is a good thing, but really, if you're open raising with Jack 8 suited, you even want the fishiest of fish in the blinds to fold. Like you prefer just taking that hand down right there, positive 1.5 big blinds in your bottom line, and that's a really good result. So know that they can find a fold. Also, when I was doing this challenge, I wasn't willy-nilly stealing with just anything, right? You want to consider how you can steal post-flop as well. So it's a really good idea to have a post-flop playable hand. Like Jack 8 suited is so much better than Jack 6 offsuit. Or 7-6 suited is way better than 7-4 suited, right? So just try to choose hands that have good post-flop playability that can hit something really good or really good draws that'll allow you to it will allow you to continue putting pressure on your opponent's flops, turns, and rivers in case you don't hit anything good. Suited and connected is always better than offsuit and unconnected, Now, here's a really important idea, and it really hit home as I was doing these the whole steal challenge, right? Before you enter a pot, whether you're going to call pre-flop or open raise or 3-bet, whatever you're doing, have a plan for how you can steal it post-flop. Because Jack 8 suited, Ace 5 suited, pocket threes, most of the time you're not going to hit anything at all on the flop. You're not going to flop your set. You're not going to flop a straight or 2-pair. Just count on that. Plan on missing the flop. Because you know you're going to miss, you really set yourself up for success if you start to plan for how you can steal it post-flop. Let's imagine you open raise with your Jack 8 suited on the button. You know the small blind, he's a tight player. He's probably going to fold. But that big blind player, there's a good chance he's going to call. But you look at his statistics and you see that he hates folding on the flop, only 20%, but he folds on the turn versus C-bets at 65%. Awesome. Before he even calls, even before you open raise with Jack 8 suited, you want to look at that player, see those stats, and you got to think to yourself, hold on a second. He folds on the turn versus C-bets. If he ends up calling me, if I see any hand, any flop against this player, I've got to plan on double barrel bluffing him if I don't hit anything. With that plan in place, poker is so much easier and so much more fun. And it's a great thing. It's a really great thing when a plan works out. When you see that path to stealing, you have to double barrel him. You open, he calls, and then you double barrel and he folds. Not only did you win the hand, but your plan succeeded. You pulled the trigger on your plan. You made every play that you knew would generally work, and he gave you what you wanted. You won the pot. It is such a good feeling, such a good high, and it makes poker just way more fun, Now, another tip for you. Before post-flop steals, try to name hands in their range that can find a fold. For example, flop comes down, queen 7 deuce rainbow, very hard to hit, dry board, right? Before you c-bet, he checks to you, you're thinking about c-bet, you gotta say to yourself, well, it's a queen 7 deuce rainbow board. I bet he can fold all non-paired aces, kings, and even jacks, right? Ace 5, king 10, jack 8. Those are all going to fold on the queen 7 deuce rainbow, right? Also, underpairs are probably going to fold. Pocket 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, maybe even 8s, 9s can fold on that queen high board. Depends on your opponent, right? Also, any like non-backdoor draws, let's imagine your opponent has jack 8 of hearts and there's no heart on the queen 7 deuce rainbow. Awesome. Like, he's probably already going to fold the jack 8, but because there's no additional heart for no backdoor flush draw potential, he's totally folding those. So, like I said, if you can name a ton of hands in their range that can fold, you're probably better off making that post-flop steal, all right? And the last tip for you, if you're stealing post-flop, it's really good to have some kind of drawing equity. Now, drawing equity means there's or equity outs, as maybe you've heard me call them in my book, Post-Flop Online Poker and stuff. If you have equity outs, that means there's a lot of turn cards that can come that add equity and add draws to your range. Let's imagine that same flop, queen 7 deuce rainbow, right? Let's say it was a queen of spades. If you have king, jack of spades, well, you have king, queen, jack, all spades. So you have a backdoor straight draw, a backdoor flush draw, one overcard with the queen as well. You want to see a 10, an ace, a king, a jack, a spade. There are so many cards that can help and give you draws or even give you a pair on the turn that those are really good opportunities to make that first flop c-bet bluff or check raise bluff, whatever kind of bluff you're thinking about. Because when the turn comes and it adds equity to your range, you can go ahead and continue barreling as a bluff again. And if he calls one more time, you can totally hit some kind of a great draw on that river. And now you're double barrel bluffing on flop and turn. It turns into an awesome river value betting opportunity. So, of course, you want to know that they can find a fold. You have that king jack on the queen spade board. If they can find a fold, great. You don't have to hit anything on the turn. You don't have to go to the river and hope to catch a flush or a straight or a top pair with the king. If they can fold, great. But if not, and sometimes your opponents just don't want to fold for whatever reason, they have a pair, they have a good draw, they think you're bluffing, whatever, it's good to have that backup just in case they decide to stay in against you. Alrighty, thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that you took me up on the Steal, Steal, Steal challenge. If not, you must do it. Please go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod446 right now. Do the Steal, Steal, Steal challenge over your next 3 one-hour sessions. Tally up everything that just like you see me, and then go through those hands, go through those stats, and see if you can't learn any lessons about better stealing. Until next time, take action both on and off the felt to become the player that you want to be.